No one expects danger to come from their own front door. But on one quiet night, a home that should have been safe became the starting point of a nightmare that would haunt an entire university and shock the nation. In the early hours of March 5th, a young woman vanished from her house without a struggle, without a sound, and without leaving behind a single clear clue. What began as confusion would soon unravel into one of the most disturbing crimes in modern campus history. Her name was Eve Carson. Eve was not just another college student. She was known as someone who stood out, someone who seemed destined for greatness. Friends described her as disciplined, kind, and intensely focused. Professors remembered her as brilliant and driven. To many, she represented the very best of her generation. Born on November 19th, 1985, in Athens, Georgia, Eve showed signs of exceptional ability from an early age. She excelled academically and devoted much of her time to service. While other teenagers were focused on social lives, Eve was balancing leadership roles, volunteering, and even working in scientific research environments. By the time she reached high school, Eve had already built a resume that many adults could only dream of. She served as vice president of her student council, volunteered at a nursing home, helped abused teens at a shelter, worked as a congressional page, and assisted in a stem cell research lab, all before graduating. Her future appeared carefully mapped out. Success seemed inevitable. After graduating with honors, Eve enrolled at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. There, she pursued a demanding double major in political science and biology. Her dedication paid off when she earned a prestigious scholarship, opening even more doors for her academic and professional future. On campus, Eve quickly became a respected leader. She took on roles in student organizations, mentored others, and remained deeply involved in charitable work. Even with her demanding schedule, she found time to teach science at an elementary school and volunteer overseas. Eve traveled to Ecuador to assist doctors, studied in Cuba for a semester, and joined a research team in Egypt. Each experience reinforced her desire to make a meaningful difference in the world. By her final year of college, Eve had already secured a job offer from a major company. Graduation was just months away. Her life was moving forward exactly as planned. But plans don't matter when fate intervenes. In February, Eve was 22 years old and living off campus with a group of close friends. She had built a quiet, stable routine, one that felt safe and familiar. Then came the night of March 5th, a night that would end everything. And no one saw it coming. Sometimes the most terrifying stories begin with the most ordinary decisions. On the night of March 5th, Eve's roommates were getting ready to head out to a party. It was around 1:30 in the morning. Music played, conversations overlapped, and the house buzzed with casual energy. They invited Eve to come with them. She declined. Eve had classes coming up and chose to stay home and study instead. It wasn't unusual. She was responsible, focused, and often prioritized her academic goals over late-night outings. Her roommates left, believing they would return to the same quiet house a few hours later. At that moment, nothing seemed wrong. Inside the home, Eve was alone. She worked on her computer, studying in the stillness of the night. Outside, the neighborhood remained calm. No signs of danger. No sense of urgency. According to forensic analysis later conducted by investigators, Eve's computer remained active until approximately 3:30 a.m. That detail would later become critical. It meant Eve was alive, alert, and at home long after her friends had left. What happened after that remains one of the most chilling aspects of the case. At around 4:30 a.m., Eve's roommates returned. As they approached the house, something immediately fell off. The front door was wide open. Lights inside the home were still on. Eve wasn't there. Neither was her car. Confusion quickly turned to concern. Eve was not impulsive. She wouldn't leave in the middle of the night without telling anyone, especially not with the door left open. Her friends tried calling her phone. No answer. They searched the house. Nothing appeared disturbed. No clear signs of struggle. No broken furniture. No obvious explanation. At first, they hoped something unexpected had come up, that maybe Eve had gone out briefly and would return soon. They waited. Hours passed. Morning came. Eve never returned. By the next day, fear had fully set in. One of Eve's friends made the decision no one ever wants to make. She contacted the police and reported Eve missing. What investigators revealed next would turn confusion into horror. Earlier that same morning, police had already responded to another call. A call that would connect directly back to Eve. A call reporting gunshots and a scream. Just before dawn, a woman living about a mile from Eve's home was abruptly awakened by a sound that didn't belong in her quiet neighborhood. Gunshots. Then a scream. Terrified and unsure of what she had just heard, the woman immediately called the police. Officers were dispatched to the area within minutes. When they arrived, they discovered something no one should ever have to see. A young woman lay motionless on the ground. She had been shot multiple times. There was no identification, no phone, no wallet, nothing that could easily reveal who she was. At the time, officers had no idea that the victim was a promising university student whose disappearance had just been reported hours earlier. When police later informed Eve's friend about the discovery and showed her a photograph, the recognition was instant. It was Eve. Detectives now worked to reconstruct Eve's final hours. They knew she was home at 1:30 a.m. They knew her computer activity stopped around 3:30 a.m. and they knew her body was discovered around 5 a.m. That left a narrow and terrifying window of time. Investigators began examining Eve's personal belongings. Her wallet and credit cards were missing. Medical examiners found no signs of sexual assault, which allowed police to rule out one common motive. Robbery quickly became the leading theory. Phone records revealed Eve's last signal came from a cell tower near a highway just outside of town. Her phone itself was never recovered, suggesting it had been discarded. Then came another critical discovery. Eve's car was found abandoned just a few miles from her home. It was immediately sent to forensic experts for analysis. At this point, the community was in shock. Eve was deeply involved on campus. Students, faculty, and staff struggled to understand how someone so visible, so respected, could vanish from her home and end up dead hours later. Fear spread quickly. People locked doors. Parents called their children. Tips poured into the police department. But for days, investigators had no suspects. Until one small detail changed everything. A bank transaction. 18 minutes. That's how long it took for Eve's disappearance to turn into a trail of evidence. Police reviewing her financial records made a shocking discovery. Just 18 minutes after Eve's computer went inactive, someone withdrew money from her bank account. Not once, twice. Got a total of $700. Further withdrawals were blocked due to the daily limit. What they saw was disturbing. A man sat inside Eve's car, calmly using her ATM card. In the back seat, another figure appeared to be present, possibly a second suspect. The image quality was too poor to confirm whether that person was Eve. Still, the implication was clear. Eve had not simply been robbed after her death. She had likely been alive during the withdrawals. Police discovered additional failed withdrawal attempts at other ATMs across the city. Whoever had Eve card was moving quickly, trying to extract as much money as possible. Then, 2 days later, another alert came in. An attempted withdrawal at a 24-hour convenience store in a neighboring town. This ATM had a working camera. When investigators reviewed the footage, they were stunned. The man using the card was not the same individual seen earlier. Now, police knew they were dealing with more than one suspect. They released still images from both ATMs to the public, hoping someone would recognize the individuals. Tips flooded in. Most went nowhere. Until March 12th, an anonymous caller identified one of the men. His name was Diario Atwater, and his past raised immediate red flags. Diario Atwater was only 21 years old, but his criminal record was already extensive. Robbery, assault, drug offenses, multiple arrests. Despite his history, he had repeatedly been released early. Even more concerning, Atwater was scheduled to appear in court just days after Eve's murder for carrying a handgun while on probation. Police compared his mug shots to the convenience store ATM footage. The resemblance was undeniable. Detectives went straight to his residence. Atwater denied any involvement, but the surveillance footage combined with financial records, was enough to place him under arrest. As investigators dug deeper, they uncovered frequent communication between Atwater and a 17-year-old named Lawrence Lovett. Lovett already had his own criminal history despite being a minor.